Inspired and tired, that's the gist of our podcast. Inspired, but we're tired. Should we create or should we take a nap?
Create.
Nap. We should definitely nap.
Chase, we're doing the show.
That's right. Of course we're doing the show. Yeah, no, that's what I said. Yeah. Inspired and Tired with your hosts, Chase and London.
Hey, we are back again for another exciting episode of Inspired and Tired, where we teach you tools and tricks to unlock your creativity. I am London, and I am here with my amazing sister, Chase.
Hello, great intro. Good
Thank
job.
you.
You know, I was watching Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce's podcast. Do you know who that is?
The football player dating Taylor Swift?
Yeah, and their brothers doing a podcast.
No.
And I was like, that's so cute.
That's us.
And I was like, oh, that's like we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, you're a football fan now.
Yeah, now I'm a football fan.
And you're also a dog mom. We got a little baby here today.
Yes, we have a dog in the studio. If we can get a little shot of him.
Right now we got a shot of his tush.
Yeah.
If you're watching the YouTube video of this. But he's a cutie. I thought he was 12, but turns out he's 1.
He's 1. He's that calm.
Yeah, he's an angel.
Yeah, this is Papa. So,
Hey, Papa. He's camera shy.
He's camera shy.
Oh,
I find that dogs are camera shy.
really?
Yeah. Have you noticed that?
Definitely never.
Oh. Anytime I try to take a picture of a dog, they
get
turn around.
skittish.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and yep, he's back.
And now
the
he's
camera's
back.
off
The
of him,
camera's
and
off
now
and
he's
he's back.
smiling. And
Anyways, we have been going through the book Big Magic, which is another book. First, we started with Artist's Way, which is all about unblocking creativity. Big Magic is a continuation of that. And we're on part 5 out of 6 parts, so we're almost there. And we just wanted to go through the chapter with you.
yeah, it's on trust.
The chapter is on trust. That's what the name of the chapter is called. And then there's all these different sections. And the first section starts with, does it love you?
And we're talking about, does creativity love you? The way that we love being creative.
Mm-hmm. And it's a great question because most people say no.
No, they don't. They believe that, we can love creativity, but creativity never loves us back.
Well, I liked this example she started with. She starts with her friend who's a botany teacher. And the first day every semester, she asks her students, do you love nature? And they're
everyone's
like,
like, yes, all the hands go up. All the hands go up.
And then she goes, does nature love you back? All the
Hands
hands go down. And by the way, I was taking notes and I put botany teacher and it autocorrected to boring teacher. And I was like, autocorrect was so bored by botany.
Much like her students. But it's interesting because when I do, and she talks about this a bit, like going back in history, people loved nature. They would do things for the earth. And it made me think about like rain dances. How people would be grateful. They would dance for the rain to come down. And, when the crops were good, they would say, thank you, thank you. And they had this like loving relationship with the earth. And that kind of has gone away with time as things have just changed.
I was asking myself, does creativity love you back? And I think the answer I would have said is no also. What do you think?
I would have said no, too, because I don't think of it as something that that thought had never even crossed my mind as it being something that would love me.
Yeah.
Why would creativity love me? Does it have emotions?
Well, Liz says it does. She says when she asks her students this, I don't know if she's a teacher, but she's asked people.
She's done a lot of jobs.
Yeah. And she said one of her young writers said writing to them is like that girl in high school that teases you and
she's popular, she's beautiful, she'll flirt with you.
She'll flirt with you, but she'll never date you.
No, she shows up the next day with the jock.
Yeah. And that's the metaphor that she gives for like how people think of their art. They think that it would never actually love them. But
It does.
interesting to think of it that way, that it possibly could.
Yeah, we provide, or no, the earth provides the seeds and we provide the garden. So it's like this, we work together to make the plants grow.
Right. We provide the garden,
Yes.
they provide the seed.
Yes.
And without either one of us, it can't happen.
So we both need to give in order to get.
Beautiful. Yes. But she says the next part is called Addicted to Suffering. She says that it's not just young writers or artists that say that it's like a bad girlfriend or worst girlfriend you've ever had. It's also like super famous artists and writers, like Oscar Wilde said, his writing is like one long, lovely suicide.
And this is where, again, Liz is just being frank about if you're going into this creative field, a lot of times it's a dark path. And
Well,
a lot of times
because of how-
artists suffer.
Because the modern way of creativity is steeped in pain, desolation, and dysfunction. It's just the way we've, as a society for so many years, have looked at art. So then a lot of people, is the next part, the teaching of pain, or cautionary tale, where her friend was told if she's not having anguish while writing her book, then it's not going to be good. So for many years, she put off this book that she thought would actually be fun to write because
It was just fun. And how can you have fun and write something that's brilliant?
Yes. So I think a lot of people associate art with dysfunction and anguish and darkness. Did that relate to you at all?
Definitely. Do you remember, not to boast, but I had a New York Times article come out because I work a lot with different brands and companies and I like those jobs. And a lot of like big artists actually did not appreciate me saying that I didn't want to be a starving artist. I wanted to work for these jobs where I could get paid well because that fulfilled me. But a real artist doesn't sell out for those sorts of things because you need to be tortured inside and
I
suffer.
remember. Yeah, London said she didn't think, in the article, she said she didn't think starving and artist needed to be together. Wow, you're so wise. What were you, 26?
I know. I didn't know what I was saying. I thought I was wrong after that because
And then she got a lot of hate, people being like, yes, starving an artist does need to be together, and how dare she think that she can get work and
it be
sell
fun
out.
and it be
sell out.
right. Looked at me as not a real artist because I wasn't going through this traumatic process to get there.
Ooh.
So yes, it resonated with me.
Liz also talks about in the book that she had a teacher that said her writing is good, but she'll never find success because she hasn't suffered enough in her life. And so she was like, thank God I didn't listen to that, because she was like, since when did suffering, like when did art have to become who's suffering the most?
Yeah.
Which I'm reading this going, oh, yeah, I sometimes feel like with stand-up, I think a lot of times if you're happy and just like life is good, people are like, why are you telling jokes then? Because like, why aren't you depressed, you know?
Because people can laugh with you at the bad stories, like the things, embarrassing things that have happened to you, the terrible things that happen to you.
Nobody
It
wants
brings
to
people
just
joy.
hear like, oh, life is good.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear that. I mean, I don't know
I remember one time
what I joke about if I was like, life is good.
I wanted you to wear, I had the cutest little like blue dress with a little collar. And I was like, wear that to your stand-up show. And you're like, no, people will look at me as if I'm like this just peppy, fun girl. Like I have to wear like a flannel shirt and like baggy pants. And like, so I look like a comedian. I can't come off too happy.
Yeah, the audience like turns on you if everything in your life is too hunky-dory.
And like she says, like, yes, a few artists have made it that have suffered. Like I watched a Picasso documentary that was amazing and he suffered. But a lot of people that suffered don't make it.
Oh,
as
right.
Well. Like,
well, I think what she was saying about that too is like a lot of artists have become like mentally insane, and then people think, oh, let me be mentally like have to apologize for me just being a wreck because that's what an artist is. But she's like, but a lot of people who are wrecks are not amazing artists.
Yeah.
So don't equate the two.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. You don't have to go down the dark crusade, which brings her, okay, so our friend Rhea.
I was just going to
Yes.
say that, London.
Is that the one
it
that we
Rhea
know
or Raya?
through?
We don't know her.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon here.
Yeah, she was a friend of our mom's cousin.
Our mom's cousin.
Friend.
Yep.
Is this woman Rhea, who she's talking about, who this is the woman that Liz ends up marrying.
Way down the line.
And then passes away. And then now she's dating Rhea's friend.
Oh, gosh.
So anyways, this is what I was...
story.
Yeah. So anyways, wanted to bring that up because we talked about her in a previous episode.
Yeah, but Rhea was a junkie. She was a musician.
Heroin addict
She ended up going to prison. She lived the rock and roll life.
And just because her idols did. Her idols were addicts. So it was like I wanted to be just like them.
And there's so many, like Amy Winehouse, Janis Joplin, the 27 Club. Mm-hmm. It's a thing, but I like that Liz points out that we don't have to live that way in order to be a creative.
Yeah, I've never turning it on me and you. I don't think we've ever felt the need to like do drugs in order to create. But reading it, I was like, oh, I definitely suffer with my art.
Right.
I suffer.
Yes. It can be torturous. It can be difficult.
Like, it's not like I'm not like, I don't know, it's causing a lot of pain in my life.
Well, what's lucky is we keep going through the chapter. We have tools.
She gives tools.
Tools to help.
So,
but what I do like, just before we move on, is she said a lot of people, there was like a famous quote that if my devils leave me, my angels will leave me too. So people feel they have to keep the suffering in order to keep things going. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was very beautiful.
I did too. But Liz says she's always chosen love over suffering when it comes to art. And she's found she can be in a drama or she can invent a drama, but she can't do both at the same time. So does that make sense?
Yes.
Like she can write a novel, like invent this whole drama, or her life can be a drama, but they can't be together. She actually finds that in order for her to create, she has to be in a good place headspace wise.
Yes, and I agree with that, but I vividly remember like maybe 4 years ago or whatever, I was going through a bad breakup. It wasn't too bad. But what was interesting is that it was one of the most creative times of my life. Like I was in this place. I don't know if it was just like freeing almost. So it was like something was lifted off my shoulders and I was able to create more. But I do remember like going through that process and just being like, I have to make art. That's the only thing my like soul wanted at the time.
That's so relatable. Any of my friends that are stand-ups that go through breakups, I'm like, get ready for all the material to come. It is so, you always get like so inspired when you are going through a tough time. But that is, I guess, the opposite of what she's saying.
Yeah, but maybe those things are actually like a good thing in a way. Like
those are okay. You got rid of the drama.
Right. It wasn't that when I was in the bad relationship, I wasn't creating better than ever. It was after that I found that time.
Always find that when I'm in a relationship, I am way less creative because I'm not focusing on me. I'm focusing on the other person.
Driving all over the city.
Which I hear.
She's driving east to west every day.
Yeah. Santa Monica to Echo Park is
long distance
relationship. But I just like don't, I know that's not good for me to think though that, if I'm in a relationship, I'm not going to be creative because you're in a good relationship
and I'm
and
just
you are
as creative. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's a good sign, fellas. If you're in a relationship and you're not being creative, get out. Is that the sign?
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Choose what you trust is what she says. Oh, no. Choose what to trust.
Yes.
So basically she's saying like if creativity wants to be made manifest, Why would it try to kill you? It doesn't make any sense. I highlighted a couple things here.
Okay.
I'll find them while you keep talking.
Yes, please read them because I just feel like you have to truly believe in your work and that the work loves you in order for good things to happen with it. Like it goes back to that relationship of you giving to receive.
Okay, so what I highlighted was her question is, and I think it's a fair one, why would your creativity not love you? It came to you, didn't it? It drew itself near. It worked itself into you, asking for your attention and your devotion. It filled you with the desire to make and do interesting things. Creativity wanted a relationship with you. That must be for a reason, right? Do you honestly believe that creativity went through all the trouble of breaking into your consciousness only because it wanted to kill you? So no. No, the answer is no. And this is where she says, nature provides the seed, man provides the garden. Each is grateful for each other's help. Is it possible then that creativity is not fucking with us at all, but that we have been fucking with it? Is it possible?
Gives you a lot to think about.
That I definitely think this is an interesting take.
I do too.
That seeing creativity as a thing that can be excited to work with you.
It's kind of like the genius thing we were talking about. How people used to think geniuses lived in the walls.
And not inside.
And
you're not the genius. The genius is around you.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happened to come visit you.
Yep. It's the same with
Same
creativity. Thing. And it's it's such a dark way to look at it that all this time this creativity is coming to you just to want to kill you. I don't even want to say it. It's so dark.
Well, so many creatives are just tortured. Yeah.
So we have to believe our work loves us.
Yeah. Do you? Yeah. I already asked you that. Okay.
I mean, yes, I do, but I go through phases and it's easy to forget, truly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to believe. I mean,
it's easy to forget that creativity loves you.
All the time. I'm like, does it? I don't even think about it.
Yeah, so, I never think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so stubborn gladness. Inspiration, Liz believes, is always trying to work with her, so she works with it too. That's the deal. Creativity speaks a different language. It comes from a different world, so it has to come through with clues, coincidences, deja vu, kismet, surprising waves of attraction through chills up her arms. But she trusts it, and it trusts her. And she's worked with stubborn gladness. This just she's stubborn and she's happy that she's working. She's worked with it since she wasn't even published, to her first book being published with only 5 people buying the book, to Eat, Pray, Love, where millions bought it, to afterwards where she was writing books that not as many people were reading. She's just continued to work with this stubborn gladness.
And clearly it's worked for her because she is still writing and still doing. So I really like where she goes to next with choosing your delusions.
Me too.
Because we've talked about being delusional and how it can help and how maybe it doesn't. But Liz says you can be delusional because when you're not being positive and you're saying, oh, this work is terrible, that's a delusion too. So you might as well be delusional in the positive sense is what I got from it.
Got that you can either believe that creativity loves you and there's no proof that the universe is a thing and that, but there's also no proof that the universe isn't a thing and that it doesn't want you to succeed. So either way, you're being delusional because there's no proof either way. So she said, might as well pick the delusion that helps.
And I think that's good. It's not being super crazy delusional. It's just being
no, it's
it's there to help and we're going to believe it.
You're delusional either way. So pick the delusion that makes you happy. Mm-hmm. Right?
And she said a lot. So there's a martyr and a trickster.
Okay.
In the book, I assume you highlighted a lot of these because she goes on
I just don't
on.
Think I know what you're talking about. I don't think the listener would
know.
Well,
I was a little confused too because apparently the trickster is the positive one. You want to be a trickster. You don't want to be a martyr.
No.
A martyr kills things. A trickster grows things.
Well,
so I want to hear some of these because there's a lot. Embrace the trickster.
Yeah.
Get rid of the martyr.
She says that, yeah, you can be two types of people. You can be a martyr or a trickster. She says, be the trickster. Tricksters are light and playful. Martyrs are dark and unforgiving. Trickster is Bugs Bunny. Martyr is Sir Thomas More. Do you know who Sir Thomas
do not.
I don't either. But he seems like a dark guy.
Yeah. Martyr is pain. Trickster is life is good.
And basically, like, I think of foxes as tricksters.
Yeah, I think of tricksters as more sneaky and sly.
It is, but-
Ooh, Sir Thomas More. Again, long ago. He lived in the 1500s.
Wow. Author, Renaissance man.
Yeah.
He looks angry.
So he's yeah, he looks real angry, but he does have a Wikipedia page, so he was doing something right. But, wow.
After refusing to take the oath of supremacy, he was convicted of treason on what he claimed was false evidence and executed. On his execution, he was reported to have said, I die the king's good servant and God's first.
Well,
I
martyr.
don't even get it. What
Martyr.
a martyr.
What a martyr.
Oh. Canonized More in 1935 as a martyr.
There we go. The first martyr.
On his Wikipedia page, it says he's a martyr. Did I read that right?
You know, it says martyr. She's on
This
something.
bores me so much.
I know.
This is, I would never choose to read
Bugs
that.
Bunny's Wikipedia is way more interesting.
Yeah, so tricksters.
I thought that was a weird word because she says a trickster trots to enjoy every day. And like, I think of a trickster as being like not as great. I think
of a trickster as manipulative.
yes, sneaky.
But she says it's like they're having fun. They
Yeah.
trust that if like you throw something up in the air, it's gonna come down. It might come down crooked. It might come down in 3 years. But the tricksters trust the law of the universe.
much like a boomerang. You throw it out and it comes right back.
And I think she's saying like, okay, if you're a trickster, they know that if they trust people in the sense that I know if I say something like this, they're going to respond with something like that, and I'm going to get what I want. But they're having fun. The
Bugs
tricksters
Bunny
are
was a
having
trickster, right? Wouldn't he play like pranks on people and run around and
Yes, but Bugs Bunny was, I mean, look how lighthearted he is.
yeah, he's having fun with the tricks.
He's not mean-hearted.
no.
Yeah, he's not like, oh, woe is me. Life is so hard. He plays with life. I liked what she said. Tricksters know that life is a game, and they do what they have to do to play the game. So it's play.
I like it.
So, yeah. And then, the tricksters trust the universe. They know it's all just a game. And then this story about Brene Brown, I really liked.
I figured because you've read a lot of her stuff.
Yeah. Brene Brown is a shame. She specializes in work on shame.
So it's not like a lighthearted, fun read.
No, she studies very like hard topics. She's not like writing comedy. So she always thought when she was in school in the academic world, like you suffer through your work for years and then maybe 4 people will read it. Like it's not like, I don't know, it's very different than creativity for fun. Like academic writing is very intense. And so she always had this like view on writing that it had to be suffering. And
She did not enjoy the process. She was not enjoying writing, but she knew her work needed to get out there, so she was pushing through.
Yes, and she believed that it was like, okay, that's what you do. You just suffer. Until Elizabeth Gilbert got to her and said, no, it's supposed to be fun. Like, make this fun. So I resonated with this so much because I want to figure out a way to make writing fun and not just like, oh God, I got to write. Mm-hmm. Because what Brene Brown realized is she doesn't like writing, but she likes storytelling. So she rented a house by the beach.
Which already sounds so fun.
So fun.
Yeah.
She paid 2 of her best friends to come stay with her.
They would order pizza, drink beer,
taco nights.
Enjoy.
She would stand in front of her friends. She'd tell them a story. They would take notes and they'd go, okay, yeah, now go write it. So and then she'd run in the other room, write it down, come back, tell the story, and they'd go, okay, I have this idea, she'd go write it. They had so much fun, and she wrote it faster than she ever wrote any other book she'd written. It was one of her favorite things she'd ever written.
And it was still a very serious book. Just because she was having fun, the tone didn't change.
It didn't mean it was comedy. It was just that, like, she enjoyed the process for the first time.
And it was the best book she had ever written.
And it was the best book she'd ever written.
So what do you think? What are some ways that you think you could change up your process? What about writing do you enjoy? Let's start there.
Oh, thank you, London.
Yeah.
Okay. What about writing? You're catching me at a time in my life where these are good questions for me. Okay.
Oh, perfect timing.
What do I love about writing? Okay. Haley's getting married.
Yep.
And she sent me her wedding website, like, bio about her and Andrew. And I edited it for her and made it funny and added in jokes, and I loved doing that. I had so much fun at writing your speech. When I gave my speech at your wedding, I enjoyed that so much. It was like like I knew what I wanted to talk about, and like calculating where each thing would go and finding the right words that make it flow the most easily and effortlessly and getting the laughs. Like, I do find it like a puzzle, and I find it a challenge, and I find that fun.
Well, the theme with those two, just off the top of
Wedding?
my head, is that you're writing about others that you love. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's harder sometimes when you're writing, when you think of it so much about yourself and have all this pressure for you on it.
Yeah. Well, I also think, okay, those two things, they were assignments. Like, I was told what to do instead of with stand-up writing, I'm the one, like, just doing it. I do really well with an assignment. Like, even when I wrote the story for The Moth, it gives you, like, this is the prompt.
And The Moth is so fun. So it's this storytelling event. They have a theme for every show that they do. What was the theme for your show?
I don't know, but I wrote about Sweet Life of Zach
Yeah,
and
it was
Cody.
something about love. And everybody has like 5 minutes. A name gets pulled out of a bag and they go up on stage and tell their story. And it's like a competition. People like give scores at the end. And it's such a fun night. And I went with Chase. How many times did you try this?
We tried 3 times,
Yeah,
and then I gave
her
up.
name never got pulled.
My name never got pulled, and I ended up using the stories in stand-up, so it was worth it. But it's something, I mean, this is just coming, I'm realizing this now. It's when there's an assignment, because even in college, we would be assigned pieces or assigned projects to create, and I loved that. So the problem I'm having is I'm the one making the assignment. There's no deadline. There's no one holding me accountable. And I'm not trusting that what I'm writing about is worthy of being written about.
Well, I wish I could give you the assignments, but I feel like you'll blow through the deadlines. So we'll have to keep working on this because...
Maybe I need to continue just like writing 5-minute moth stories.
Yeah. Like oh my gosh, this would be such a fun experiment.
Tell me.
Like put a bunch of topics in a bowl and then close your eyes and pick one out and then set a timer for like an hour.
See, that sounds awful to me.
Oh, okay.
I did that stand-up show where you pick a topic out of a bucket.
Mm-hmm. Oh, was that hard?
And you just have to talk about it in front of the audience. Yes, it was hard. I mean, some people are brilliant at that. You have to be so present or else you're going like, your brain is going, what's funny, what's funny, what's funny, instead of just being like, oh, let me talk about this topic. So I was practicing. I was like on a walk and I was giving myself topics and I was like, tree. Whatever But then I'd be like, if a tree falls and no one hears it, did it really fall? And I'm doing I'm like talking to myself.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I did it. It wasn't fun. It was hard. It was hard work.
That was in front of an audience though too.
Well, the tree wasn't.
That's
That was
right.
just on my walk.
No one heard it.
So I don't know. Like, that's not fun for me. But what does sound fun is getting an Airbnb in the woods, inviting you, ordering pizza.
Am I getting paid?
I'll pay you. I'll order us pizza, and then oh my gosh, yeah, and you just have to stay with
I
me
just
in
have
the
to hold you
Airbnb.
accountable.
Oh my gosh, how much money would I need to pay you?
You wouldn't have to pay me.
Well, for you to take it seriously.
You wouldn't have to pay me.
How many days can I get you for?
3?
Fine.
Okay.
Deal.
But you have to write. The second you're not doing the writing, I'm leaving the
I
Airbnb.
want to do the storytelling thing like Brene, where I can like be like, this is what I wanted to talk to you about.
And I get to take notes.
Yes, and then you go, okay, now go write it and come back up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, let me know a weekend you're free.
That would be fun.
We'll find a weekend I'm free. That's the hard part.
Yeah. So the book was still fun. The next chapter the next section goes into lighten up.
Lighten up.
Which maybe is what that whole weekend away is all about. You just lighten up and the work flows.
Yeah, so Liz talks about her first piece that got published was this piece called Pilgrims. And
she spent like a long time
years
working on it. She said it was like a fine piece of granite by the time she submitted it. And they said, yes, it was 10 pages.
10 pages. It was going to be...
I think that's long. You made it seem like that was nothing.
No. Wait, 10 pages?
Yeah. In the magazine. A 10-page article seems
Oh,
like
yeah,
a long
you're right.
one.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking like 10 sentences. Okay, 10 pages. So it was going to be in the Esquire, and Michael Jordan was on the front cover in 1993. This was the big deal.
Esquire.
The biggest deal. And then they give her a call and they say, so sorry, we had an advertiser. Get out of here. So we have to cut down your piece. Or
by 30%.
Or you can just not have it in the magazine. And she wanted to just die.
Because she had spent so long on it.
And she was like, do you know what 30% of 10 pages is?
That's 3.
Is that it?
Yeah. But still, 3 pages of...
Glad I asked. I didn't know that math. Okay, because I was like, that must be a big chunk.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's a lot of words, a lot to cut out. And so she had the option to either put it on the side. They said, we can run it later, but who knows what's going to happen. The people in charge could change, things could move. Or you can cut it down and get it in this magazine. So she lightened up.
She lightened up and she cut it down and she made it fun. She was like, wow, what a cool experiment and exercise to see how I can cut this already perfect piece down to 3 pages. And
no, cut it down to 7.
Oh.
She had to remove 3 pages. But she had fun with it because she's like, I never would have done this on my own. But her cutting it down, it didn't make it better. It didn't make it worse. It was just different.
But that's what I'm talking about, like an assignment. Like she had an assignment. I really like assignments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it makes it fun. Editing stuff is kind of fun.
Yeah. But this does remind me a lot of what it's like to collaborate with different people on your art. When you do have a job or do have someone that has hired you to create art, a lot of times artists can put up this wall and be like, this is my art. It is what it is. If you don't like it, I'm not doing the gig.
Oh, have you done that before?
No, never me. And sometimes, so you, like for my process, I sketch things out, I submit designs, and then they work back and forth. And sometimes it can be a little frustrating getting feedback on something you've spent so much time working on and thinking what would be right. But what I've always noticed, literally never has the work come out worse because of others' feedback. It's maybe ideas that I never would have thought of before on my own, but I always find it really enjoyable almost to get others' points of view on things because it does take you outside of your comfort zone and make you look at things a different way, and it can make it better.
Okay, I have a rebuttal.
Yeah.
That's great. For me, I have a tough time because I'm talking now, I'm not stand-up, I'm creating a tea company. called Pity Party. I'll have the info more later. But I designed the labels, and I've had the labels designed since 2020.
For years. Yeah.
And I love the labels. There's a reason that I picked the font the way it is and the colors, and we sent it off to a person to like actually make the labels, and it came back completely different. Different colors, different font, different, like everything was different. And I was like, wait, I literally just handed you what to do. And I don't know if they thought that if we're paying them, they need to like add in their own flair.
Well, what I'm saying is it's a back and forth then. So they submit something to you and then you give them, you're now the one in charge.
Well, I gave them notes.
And?
She said
Doesn't
thank you.
seem good.
Yeah, I don't know.
You haven't gotten it back yet?
No.
Hopefully, though, that back and forth helps.
I felt terrible giving like so many notes.
You got to.
But like, for me, the collaborative process, I wish I could have just done it myself. Right? I don't get what I'm paying for.
I guess it's different because you feel like you can do it all yourself anyways. I'm more talking if the person who's giving you feedback and hiring you to do something like say they hired you to create a label.
But I also think
I
also think that I'm a little too like, this is my vision. This is my vision and I want it, and where do I let that go?
Yeah.
I have a tough time with like, no, this is how I want it to be. So
Well,
I need to
keep going back and forth.
I need to lighten up.
You got to lighten up. Keep collaborating, but also you should get what you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't get it when I'm paying I even sent them the website. I already created the website. They just had to switch it over to Shopify. The website was done. They gave it back to me completely different. And I was like, I just copy what I did. Anyways, I'm frustrated.
Lighten up.
I got to lighten up.
I'm sure it's going to turn out great.
The creative process the collaborative process is great.
It can be really good because it forces you to take in feedback that you've never would have thought of on your own.
Okay, good. I love that outlook.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next.
Not your baby.
It ain't your baby. Oh, this is exactly. I'm just preaching to myself
because it doesn't want you to treat your work like your child.
Because if you did, you would never let your child leave your side.
You just keep it for yourself. You don't want it to go
hover
out in the
over
world.
it, and you'd want to be protective of it.
It's hard to take criticism when you treat it like your baby. It's harder to share when it's your baby.
Instead, she says, "You're the baby." You learn so much from your creative art that, like, she was like, every time I finish a story or a novel, I've grown so much that I was the child and creativity was the one teaching me.
Which is very wise. And if she had never made those cuts to her Pilgrim story, turns out the editor did move from Esquire and someone else came in, and that story would have never hit the press. She got her literary agent because of that story, and she says she could still be a bartender if it wasn't for those cuts.
Yeah. Now, just a side note about Liz. I notice sometimes when, like, okay, she's this best-selling author and, oh, life is so good for her. She can just create when she wants. And sometimes I have judgment for those people. I go, oh, well, lucky break. But reading this book and how much she's done the work, I don't have that type of, like, resentment towards her. I'm
no,
like,
she has
she
never
didn't get
given
lucky. She always just like did the work, and she's not ever been like, it's about success, it's about her devotion to writing, which it doesn't make me hate her.
That's good.
I like that.
No, it's really amazing how much she has not given in to criticism and not let people bring her down and stop her from moving forward.
Because a lot of times if you have a best-selling book, like she was saying in other chapters, it can stop people from ever creating again. So she is like a master in this. Like, she should be writing a book on creativity because she just keeps going and, like, has written at every single phase that someone can write at.
Yeah. And what she gets into next, I think, really will resonate with a lot of people because she is lucky that she found her passion. and knows exactly what she wants. But she talks about passion versus creativity.
No, curiosity.
Oh, sorry. Passion versus curiosity.
Yeah.
And it's hard to figure out your passion. And she says, put a middle finger up to anybody who just says, figure out what you love. And that's what I've been preaching all these podcast episodes.
Yikes.
So my gosh, I am humbled.
Okay. Well,
I am
London,
humbled.
because
That is not the right thing to say. I'm sorry.
it's okay.
That
You
was
didn't
harsh.
know any better.
I didn't know until the trust episode.
London has been passionate about crocheting since she was 13. I'm
Yeah.
speaking for you. So having a passion that you just know is inside of you, it's easy to be like, everyone has something that they're passionate about, but so many people don't. And when she was saying like, okay, fine, yes, if you have a passion, go follow it. But like, what if you don't have a passion? Are you supposed to just like sit around? No, you're supposed to follow your curiosity.
Because everyone is curious.
Bingo.
Mm-hmm.
So, couldn't have said it better. So she's saying like, you don't have to be passionate about something in a way that it's like fiery and, oh, I just love it. You can be like, is there anything I'm in the slightest bit interested in? And then you can go, oh, yeah, like her example is she was the slightest bit interested in gardening.
She wasn't passionate about, or she wasn't writing a book that filled her up with anything at the moment.
She couldn't figure out what she wanted to write about. She was in this like, this funk, this dark phase. And she was like, okay, well then what is it that is there anything that interests me? And she was like, gardening does. For some reason right now I have a little garden in my backyard and I want a garden. So she followed that curiosity. And then she started planting flowers. And then she started getting curious about, where do these tulips come from?
Which is so fascinating. She talks about where the lilacs come from, where the irises come from. They come from all over the world.
Yeah, like it was interesting.
It is. I never thought about it. And she just started following these little clues of curiosity from one thing to the next. And sure enough, that turned into a book she wrote on botanary exploration.
Yes.
So fascinating.
The signature of all things is about a 1900s botanist romance. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a
I took a note of
fiction
it.
book. And even if your curiosity may not lead you anywhere, just being curious and following that is enough.
Yeah, it was a 19th century botanical exploration novel. She said 3 years earlier, she would have never in a million years even thought to have written a book about a 19th century botanical exploration.
It's called The Signature of All Things.
But and it took her 3 years of just like following a small curiosity to the next. And before she knew it, she had this big like, oh, that's what I want to write my book on.
And she started talking about, much like in The Artist's Way, they talk about the little synchronicities that happen along the way when you are following something you're curious about even. She happened to have this old book that her grandfather gave her that had all the information she needed to like fill her book with these little anecdotes. And then something else happened that took her somewhere around the world that helped her do this. And like these synchronicities start happening even when you're curious. You don't have to be following your passion for the good little things to start happening. So I got to take my passion talk down a notch.
Yeah, take your passion talk down a notch.
Yeah.
And just say, what are you curious about? But I have to say, I was reading this section and I was like, wow, 3 years of being curious about gardening, that's someone whose finances are under control.
Well, remember, did she write Eat, Pray, Love before this? I think so, because this came out in 2014.
She did.
When I was reading this, I was like,
second book after Eat, Pray, Love.
Okay, because I was like, she had a full-time job at this point.
No,
but
she was
I guess not.
She had the money. But I was reading this and I was like, that's the difference between someone like, I'm a writer and that's my job and it has to pay the bills, and someone that's like paying the bills from doing odd end jobs or a steady job, and this curiosity following is just a hobby. Because I think if someone were to tell me, hey, Chase, your next project, it's going to take you 3 years to get it done, I'd be like, that's too long. Like, I don't have time.
Same.
I don't have time for that.
And I'd be too nervous. How do I pay my rent? How am I going to
So that was really
live?
a like, wow, it seems so peaceful to give your art or your creativity 3 years to follow its curiosity before you move on to your next project. And I was like, that is someone that has finances taken care of, whether it's by becoming a best-selling author or by just having another job. So art is not the moneymaker. She clearly wasn't paying bills through her curiosity. So I think that was really interesting reading. Like, make money another way and just let your art come when it's supposed to, instead of like this pressure of it has to be here now.
Yeah. But you have to be curious and follow the things and keep your mind working and doing and going, or else it won't come.
She calls it like a scavenger hunt, which I think is fun.
Me too.
Yeah. So that's interesting is the next topic.
Section.
She goes, don't rush through the experiences and circumstances that have them. Okay. Let me start over. Don't rush through the experiences and circumstances that have the most capacity to transform you. There's only a slight difference between a tormented creative life and a tranquil one, and that's the word interesting and awful. So if you change the word awful to interesting, you're no longer going to be tormented. Every failure is going to be like, oh, that's interesting. Where did that go wrong? Instead of, oh, that was awful.
And she says you can't get to interesting unless you go through some sort of like unsettling period. So you have to power through the unsettling to get to the interesting. And a lot of people give up before they can even get there.
That's what I think she means by like, don't rush through the experiences that are going to transform you. She uses the example of like beginning meditators. They're closing their eyes, they're getting close to like having a breakthrough, and thoughts come up that are hard, and they'll just stop. Okay, I don't want to meditate anymore. However, if they really sat with those thoughts that were hard and let it pass through them and feel them, they would grow so much. So it's the same thing with your art and your creativity. When things get hard, most people go, okay, I'm done. But you have to go through that hard process.
Yeah. And that's why also like she talks about Picasso went through a phase where he made ceramics because he just wasn't enjoying painting anymore. So instead of giving up painting altogether, he started exploring ceramics and had this whole amazing phase of his artistic career doing something different that was hard at the beginning, but he powered through. And they're beautiful.
Yeah,
so.
You jumped ahead a couple, but
Oh,
I want to
did?
talk about that.
Oh.
Because, yeah, you just jumped ahead of Hungry Ghosts, which is, she calls...
My bad.
She calls Hungry Ghosts is what the Buddhists call your forever famished, internally howling need and greed ego. So that just, we can't feed the hungry ghost, which is our ego. We have to know that the soul needs one thing, and that's wonder.
Oh, I love that. That's probably one of my favorite words.
Wonder.
I love it.
Our souls just want wonder. Our souls aren't worried about if what we created is going to have success or not. It just wants to know if we were having wonderment while we were creating it. That's the point.
It.
And if you fail, chop up that failure and use it as bait for your next project.
Oh, I love it.
So anyways, the do something else. Picasso did what?
He started making ceramics. And at the Picasso Museum in Barcelona, they have a huge room of all these amazing ceramics. And I never knew he did that until going there. And I was like, he is talented. And he switched to ceramics like when he was well into his, like, I think he was like 50 or so. And they are just beautiful.
This is totally like The Artist's Way, where she's like, get a hobby. Because Liz was feeling really stuck, she took up art class and she started drawing. And Einstein, when he was like, I don't know what he did, but math problems, I don't know.
Yeah, instead of doing math, he started playing violin.
And he said anytime he was like in the midst of playing violin, then the ideas would come. Her friend was a baseball player. He kind of felt stuck. He started playing soccer. And then when he went back to baseball, he was good to go. So it's like if you're feeling stuck in your current art, switch it up. Go do another art.
Because you don't have that pressure in that other art that you do in the main field of your art. So you don't feel like you have to be the best. You have to be a success at it. You can truly just enjoy it.
Exactly. And she tells the story of this man. Was it Clive Davis, or is that or is it Clive Owen? Who is it? Clive something. He's Clive James.
All right.
I don't know
Clive
who that is.
James.
Clive James. He wrote a play or a novel. It failed miserably. Talk about stakes being high. He put so much of his finances into this play. When it failed, he went broke. He lost friends.
His family was like
not doing
well.
I mean, like he literally, like when a piece fails, like it is really bad and hard. So he went into a deep depression. Didn't ever want to write again. And it wasn't until one day his daughters came home from school and they asked him to paint their bicycles.
And boy, did he.
He was like, sure, I'll do it.
Took on the assignment, Chase may say.
Is that what I would say?
Well, you love assignments.
Oh, I love assignments.
You love assignments. Clive James.
There he is, Clive James.
He was on 60 Minutes.
Clive James.
I wonder if it was for the bikes or his plays. But these bikes, he shined every spoke of his daughter's bikes. He painted them red. He drew hundreds and hundreds of stars, just beautiful stars.
She said thousands.
Thousands of stars on these little girls' bikes. And he had a blast doing it.
And then soon enough, all the kids in the neighborhood were coming to him for him to paint their bikes. And he just like, this was his hobby of like getting into a act of creativity that wasn't the main art and the main focus. And all of a sudden he was free again. And he realized failure has a purpose. And the purpose is, do you really want to create? Because you can stop right now. Like if it's this hard, you don't have to do it. And he found that like by painting the bikes, he was like, oh yeah, I do want to create. So,
and apparently he only spent 3 weeks creating these bikes, painting away until he realized I can go back to playwriting.
He had the one thought while he was doing it. He goes, I could write about this one day.
Yeah.
And Liz said all of a sudden he was free. But it really is hearing that like his whole life got turned upside down. No wonder people are scared to create, because if you put your life on the line for this piece of art and it fails, yeah, like you're going to lose friends and relationships and lose all your money. Like who wants that?
No.
I don't. But she says, you have to have fierce trust, not that your play or art piece is going to be successful. You just have to trust that it's worth it to put it out anyway, because the success doesn't matter. It's all about what you learned while you were creating. The success isn't guaranteed. It's just, you have to trust that you need to put it out. Is that right?
Yeah. And that we can't let our ego guide our choices, because when we get hurt, when we get down, it is the ego, and we have to remember the soul is what's more important, and the soul doesn't get hurt by those rejections. The soul wants wonder and wants to be inspired.
I highlighted this because I think I needed to hear it. You are worthy, dear one, regardless of the outcome. You will keep making your work regardless of the outcome. You will keep sharing your work regardless of the outcome. You were born to create regardless of the outcome. You will never lose trust in the creative process, even when you don't understand the outcome. Oh, and then there's that famous question that people ask. What would you do if you knew that you could not fail? And Liz likes to say, what would you do even if you knew that you might fail? Like, what do you love so much that you can't live without doing it? I thought to myself, what is it for me? I couldn't come up with an answer.
Well, you got to get curious then.
Okay.
Yeah, because no pressure trying to figure out that one thing.
Yeah, this goes back to you've always said, follow your passion. I love that you're getting a
Oh,
new outlook.
I am humbled today. I have been knocked down
Just
some pegs.
get curious.
Just get curious.
Yeah, I think I need to start getting a little curious because I was
I think so, and that'll lead you.
I think if I gave up writing, because I haven't, I'd be interested to know, is that something I can live without? Because right now, it is like
It feels like work.
it's like a huge weight on my shoulders instead of play.
Yeah. I
So-
think
So
curiosity.
I think I could live without it. Like, I was like, is it tea that I,
Because I know you can't live without tea.
is it designing labels for teas
I know
that I
it's-
can't
no,
live
probably
without?
not, but who knows?
I don't know. I feel like I almost have to like go cold turkey with creativity to even know if I want to keep being
Okay,
creative.
whoa.
Okay, am I being too dramatic?
Not cold turkey with creativity. Just maybe pivot a little bit and start being curious about something else that's not so strictly writing or what you're already used to.
Well, I was
also,
like,
don't stop. You're so talented.
I was like, is it videos that I like? No. I'm so stressed and then I judge myself when it's out. Like, I don't
you
know
can
what
get
it
curious
is.
about anything. The
Gardening.
moon, gardening, whatever.
But then how do you turn the moon into creativity?
Trust.
Okay.
That's the title of the chapter.
Okay. Trust.
But I do love the next story she shares.
I love this story
in this
too. You go
section,
ahead and tell it.
Walk proudly. So she doesn't even know the name of the person that told this story about his little brother. He was living in France. He was an artist. He was having fun. And one day, through coincidences, he met these like aristocrats. And they invited him to this costume ball. And he took this assignment very seriously. And he made the most gorgeous costume.
Of a lobster.
It was a lobster. He was wearing tight
Tights,
red leggings.
claws.
Big. He was already 6 feet tall and had big antennas sticking up. He goes to this costume ball.
Well, and he went to like, what is it?
I
not
thought you were going to
yarn.
say yarn store.
Yeah, it's not yarn.
A-
Material stores?
fabric store?
Fabric. He went to fabric stores and had fun and made the. Okay, now go.
He
go on.
shows up to the ball. Sure enough, there's a theme to the ball.
It's a costume
Medieval
party,
court.
but it's medieval court.
and he shows up as a bright red lobster.
This story reminds me of when
Legally
Elle
Blonde.
Woods
Me too, I
shows
wrote it
up in her bunny outfit.
Because the way he reacts is very similar to Elle. She didn't.
He puts his shoulders back and he walks on in.
He ended up dancing with the Queen of
Of
Belgium
Belgium.
that night. Just
Queen of
like
Belgium.
Elle Woods. She walked into that party and she didn't. She's like, I wanted to wear this.
Yeah.
Like, she wasn't phased.
And he goes, I'm the lobster
Of
court
the court.
jester. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And people thought he was hilarious and he owned it. So Elizabeth tells this story to be like, show up. At least show up to the party.
You've put so much work into your work. Show it off.
Show up to the party. You might end up dancing alone in the corner in a lobster costume, but you also might end up dancing with the Queen of Belgium. So show up to the party.
Yeah.
And like if you end up dancing in the corner in a lobster costume, that's a funny story to me personally.
It is. And no one will remember that you showed up
Well, I
in the
think
lobster.
people would remember that.
I mean,
You remember that. But it's all about like you might fail miserably, but at least you're showing off what you put the effort in.
yeah. Don't turn around before the work is done or when the work is done. Don't stop because you're scared people will laugh at you. Put it out there because you don't know what's going to happen next.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's the end of the chapter.
And that's the chapter.
We have one more section.
I'm very
it's like
excited.
6 pages. And
This book has been really helpful, giving some new perspectives, I've got to say.
well, we're just recapping. If you're reading the book along
It
with
is
us,
full of wisdom.
she's so funny too.
Yeah.
I laugh out loud.
She
reading
doesn't
this.
take herself seriously at all.
No.
She is the lobster.
So this has been, really good. I haven't been doing my morning pages or artist dates. What about
I
you?
know. I haven't either.
How are we going to continue doing that?
We're going to do our best.
Because that's the assignment is
That is
what I
the
need.
assignment.
Like, it's like,
I know.
I did
I
it when I
think-
was in the artist way.
I think the assignment, if we can get back to doing morning pages and we can just start following our curiosity, I think both of those things will be very helpful.
Following the curiosity without like stress.
Without putting pressure on it.
That like, oh, following my curiosity is going to lead me to writing the signature of all things and it's going to be a bestseller. And but I have to like that all has to go away and it needs to really just be like curious.
Just for fun.
Just the scavenger hunt.
And I think just starting to be aware of the things that pop up in our mind on what we're curious about even, because I don't even know right now. I just push those little like wonders to the back burner.
I push the wonders to the back burner too.
But yeah, I'm excited for that. I do have, this is very off topic.
Oh.
But I just remembered because there's a lobster Beanie Baby, if you recall. Oh. Well, I watched a great movie on Apple TV. It is The Beanie Buddy. It is such a good movie. It's about the story of how Beanie Babies became popular.
Really?
Oh my gosh, I loved it.
Okay, great. I need a new flick.
Yeah, it's a good flick. It's an entrepreneurial story about how they got to be where they are, and it's a wonderful movie for anybody who's like, you know, wants to create something and put it out there in the world.
Okay.
And it's a good one.
The movie Tetris on Apple TV is also like that.
Oh.
It's the origin story of how Tetris happened.
Nice.
Very crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, to plug, London has a book.
I do. Crochet with London K, if anyone's interested in how to yarn bomb your life.
Today I am wearing another one of my merchandise. This one's called People Pleaser.
Love it.
It's on my website, chaseodonnell.com. I'm going to be in Vegas on Saturday at the Venetian.
I'll be there too.
Opening for Christina P. And that's going to be wild.
That's a big one.
I had a dream last night that I showed up and they were like, oh, you're not performing.
So,
and then I was like, oh, should I go on stage still? And they're like, if you want to, but like, you're not scheduled to. So nightmare.
So Chase will be in Vegas on Saturday on the stage or off.
And yeah, I might just be in the wings.
She's there. She's there.
And yeah, that's it. Those are
exciting.
The plugs.
Please follow along on our
and
podcast.
Follow your curiosity. Go ahead.
That.
Like,
I said
subscribe,
no words.
comment, share,
tell 2 people.
review.
Woo! We love you all.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.